I'm playing something almost every week, and sometimes I want to talk about it and give you a vertical slice. So stick with me for some lightning reviews. This week on the chopping block. This week I've been playing #DriveRally, which I strongly expect has named itself that to manipulate social media metrics by simply having people talk about it. Having exercised most of the hardware compulsions I've been having these past weeks, other than just accidentally assembling computers at random, which is totally a real thing that can happen, I'm back to reviewing games at the moment. That being said, #DriveRally is one that somewhat came out of nowhere for me, but has been part of my wind-down routine almost every night on my Steam Deck. *DriveRally is a time trial racing game that, according to the Steam page, is set in the golden rally racing era of the 90s. The thing that stuck out at me the most on initial inspection was the cel-shaded art style, which made me remember Hot Shot Racing. Upon checking, it's not the same developers, but the style of cars and characters was so strikingly similar that I would have sworn it was by the same people. Anywho, while not my go-to racing game format, I do occasionally enjoy time trial and rally-style games going back to Sega Rally Championship on the Sega Saturn and arcade. Diving straight into the campaign races, or championship series in this case, the usual learning curve of figuring out the game's specific physics quirks was rather short. On default settings, the cars have a tangible weight and a consistent feel, which is one of the best things you can have in a game of this style, but seems to heavily disincentivize drifting or power slides. Not a problem necessarily, but definitely a buzzkill if you're coming off of an initial D marathon. One clever thing that social media trigger symbol DriveRally did once you're in race is to add the time trial ghost of a racer close to the top of the time trial leaderboard for you to aim for by default. You have the option to turn it off in settings, but I found it engaging and fun to chase the shadow of a faster racer to see how you could improve. Watching them was also where I discovered one of the main trade-offs that, given the early access release of the game, I'd kind of like to see modified for balance. You see, the tracks you're traversing are usually lined with tape or otherwise flimsy boundaries that, depending on the makeup of the course, are merely suggestions for your car. You automatically reset if you go too far off the road, and running over markers adds a small time penalty, but the half a second you lose by hitting markers can be worth maintaining your speed in the long run. Of course, this can become a rather irritating balancing act where you're experimenting just to see how much of a corner you can cut before the game goes and resets you back on the course from a dead stop. A balance of your time penalty increasing by how far you go off the track, or the number of times you cut exponentially multiplying the penalty, would create a much more intricate balancing act that could also eliminate the need for an automatic reset. The manual reset, however, seemed to me like it took too long of a button hold to initiate. Half the time would have been more appropriate, and while I'm nitpicking, I'm astounded at the developer's choice of seemingly locking off campaign races once you've completed them. There were tracks I wanted to go and revisit in the initial campaign, but it would not allow it for some reason. Looking at things optimistically, I'm hoping it's just a bug rather than a conscious design choice. Speaking of conscious choices though, there are several I feel need to be addressed as far as when it comes to the presentation.
Oh my gosh, are we starting? Hold on, let me fix my hair first.
Visually, the game is striking. The cel-shaded art style works well, and the cars and tracks are all distinct and appealing. Sound design choices, though, begin to reveal cracks. The music and sound effects aren't really worth noting, but the voice work and characters are definitely more troublesome. Being a rallycross game, you're often listening to your passenger to determine how to take upcoming turns. Those directions should be considered vital, so when they start interjecting with banter that overrides when you would need to receive an instruction for an upcoming turn, you can see why it would begin to frustrate. Not only that, but the lines they chose for some of the characters come across as straight up problematic. The Austrian co-pilot speaking like Arnold Schwarzenegger and the female navigator talking like a hair and beauty obsessed valley girl are one thing, but when the Asian caller is constantly making references to kung fu and whatnot, you're approaching the territory of racist caricatures.
Ready, set, go. We must be quick like kung fu fight.
At best, it smacks of lazy or unthoughtful writing, something to maybe consider for improvement before the game sees its official 1.0 release. But enough on the set dressing. I'm not here to descend into the trenches of the culture war. For a prospective rally racing game, what matters are the feel and the mechanics when you're in a race, and to its credit, #DriveRally has both in spades. The speed on the straightaways is visceral, and the turns are dynamic and intricate when you're absorbed in shaving seconds to try and reach the peak. Something I've managed to do at least once. If the foundation wasn't solid, I wouldn't keep coming back to it each night on my Steam Deck. I just pray that the devs at Pixel Perfect Dude fix the numerous issues in presentation that I've laid before them, something that they have plenty of opportunity to do while it's in early access. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's almost lunchtime, and I'm a hungry boy. Hey, thanks for sticking around all the way to the end. Remember that I give away Steam keys with my regular weekly uploads, and all you have to do to enter is leave a comment and have contact info on your YouTube profile. But as always, thanks for watching, and keep your head on your shoulders.